6. I had half a second to get a grip, grab the grip, tuck the gun, turn around, ignore Buck, catch my breath, stand up straight, act normal, act natural, act like the only rules that matter are the ones for the elevator. A girl stepped in, stood beside me, around my age, fine as heaven, flower dress, low heels, light makeup, lip gloss, cheek stuff, perfume, sweet, fresh, cutting through the cigarette smoke. She checked to make sure L was lit, and I was walking my eyes up her legs, the ruffle and fold of her flower dress, her arms, her neck, her cheek, her hair. Then the bus stop leaned back to get a glimpse of the world. But the metal barrel dug into my back, making me wince, making me obvious in whack. I didn't know smoking was allowed in elevators, she said, her small talk smacking with sarcasm, but I was too shook to notice. You can see that? I replied all goofy. My game no good around ghosts. I wondered if she thought it was me lighting up before she got on, since she couldn't see Buck in the corner, puffing out, making faces like, get on with it. Of course, it's everywhere, she said, pinching back a cough. She fanned smoke from her face, thumb to Buck, who shook his head and blew vanishing halos. She could see him. She could see him? She could see him. Then she turned to me and added, I didn't know guns were allowed in elevators either. But she could see Buck? But how? I thought he was only my ghost, only my grand imagination. But when she could see him, could smell his funky cigarette, I knew for a fact this was real. At this point, you probably already don't believe me or think I'm nuts. And maybe I am, but I swear this is all true. Swear. I joined in, fanning the smoke, shaking her comment about the gun, looking at Buck all crazy. But he didn't care, just leaned back and took another pull on the cigarette, burning but not burning down, still long, fire, smoke, but no ash. She brushed her hand against mine to get my attention, which on any other occasion would have been the perfect open for me to flirt or at least try to do my best impression of Sean, which was his best impression of Buck. But there was a ghost in the elevator, so no go. Plus, it's hard to think about kissing and killing at the same time. She asked, what you need it for anyway? And when I looked confused, pretended to look confused, she ticked tongue to teeth and clarified, the gun. The next exchange was a simple one. I don't mean no harm, but that ain't something you just ask someone you don't even know, I said, still trying to play cool. The girl nodded, replied, you're right, so right. But then she put her hand on my shoulder, her perfume floating from her wrist to just under my nostrils, said, but I do know you, Will. I won't front. I was a little excited. I know I just said flirting on an elevator with a ghost on it was a no-go, but he would have been on this elevator forever. And Sean always said if a girl says she knows you, but you ain't never met her, then she's been watching you, clocking you, checking you. Buck probably taught him that. I hoped it was true. From where is what I came up with next, loading up my flirts. Where you know me from? The girl smiled with her eyes. From the playground, she said, monkey bars. Very funny, I said, picking up on her trying to play me. I ain't no monkey. I never said you were, she replied. I'm being serious. Well, then you got the wrong guy because I'm too old to be hanging at playgrounds. Yeah, but I knew you when you weren't. She opened her purse, dug around, pulled out a wallet, unfolded it, turned it toward me to flash a photo like white people on movies when they want to show off their kids. But I wasn't trying to see no kids. But there they were. There we were. Me and my friend Dani as kids, 8 years old. No-need jeans and hand-me-down t-shirts from Sean. Flower dress, shorts underneath for Dani, who hung from a monkey bar, tongue hanging from her mouth like pink candy. The sun shining in my eyes, the sunshine in hers. You remember this? The girl asked, folding, snapping the wallet shut. Of course, I said, wondering how she knew Dani. It was one of the best and worst days of my life. You remember on this day? She paused, cocking her head to the side, hands on her hips, butterflied arms, and continued, I kissed you. My eyes got big. Dani? This was Dani? Dani? Standing in front of me? The flower dressed the same, her face 8 years older than the 8 years old, but still the same? Yeah, I remember. I remember that. I remember this. And then I got hung up. And then gunshots, she said. Gunshots. Gunshots like fire coming from everywhere. Dani said her body burned and all she wanted to do was jump outside herself, swing to somewhere else, like we pretended to do on monkey bars. And now I want to throw up. Buck baited. He'd, the cigarette dangling, bouncing with each word like a fishing pole with fish on bait, with hook through head. I told Dani how I remember Sean screaming for us to get down, how he lay on top of us, covering us, smashing us into the dirt. I told her how I remember staring at her the whole time, her eyes wide, the brightness dimming, her mouth open, bubblegum, in blood. I swear sometimes it feels like God be flashing photos of his children, awkward, amazing, tucked in his wallet for the world to see. But the world don't want to see no kids. And God ain't no pushy parent, so he just folds and snaps us shut. When they said you were gone, I cried all night, I confessed. And the next morning, over hard-boiled eggs and sugar cereal, Sean taught me rule number 1. No crying. The way I felt when Dani was killed was a first. Never felt nothing like it. I stood in the shower the next morning after Sean taught me the first rule, no crying, feeling like I wanted to scratch my skin off, scratch my eyes out, punch through something, a wall, a face, anything, so something else could have a hole. Anagram number 2, feel equals flee. It's cool to see you, Dani, I said, feeling funny but meaning every word. She grew up gorgeous. At least she would have. Good to see you too, Will, she grinned. But you still haven't answered my question. What you need a gun for? My face tightened, hardened. They killed Sean last night. Who killed Sean? Shouldn't you already know? Just tell me who killed him, Will. The Dark Sons. You remember Riggs? Used to live around here? Think it was him. Had to be. Had to be. Dani was killed before she ever learned the rules. So I explained them to her so she wouldn't think less of me for following them. Like I was just another block boy on one looking to off one. So that she knew I had purpose and that this was about family. And had I known the rules when we were kids, I would have done the same thing for her. Then Dani asked, what if you miss? But I won't, I said. But what if you do? She asked. I won't, I said. But how you know? She asked. I just know, I said. But you ever even shot a gun? She asked. Don't matter, I said. Don't matter. Dani was disappointed. Slapped her hands to her face. Tried to wipe away worry. But she couldn't. And I couldn't expect her to. I looked back at Buck for a bailout, some help, something. But he said nothing. Just slid the cigarettes from his pocket and extended it to Dani. Buck offered. Smoke? I guess this was his way of diffusing the situation. Thank you, Dani said, wiggling one from the box. You smoke? I asked. You shoot? She shot back, slipping it between her shiny lips, leaning forward for the light. Buck struck a match, and again, the elevator came to a stop.